After the devastating Peloponnesian War, the once impregnable Greek city-states presented a somber picture of fragmentation and exhaustion. Sparta, which had briefly asserted its hegemony, failed to maintain leadership and quickly became entangled in endless strife. Athens, the brilliant jewel of the Aegean Sea, was defeated and stripped of its empire's former glory. Corinth, Thebes, and other cities desperately vied for power, but none could achieve true dominance. The Greek world, despite all its past splendor, had become an arena of discord and disunity, where each pursued its self-serving objectives. What lay ahead for this world? Could the Greeks overcome their divisions and reclaim their former power, or did a more tragic fate await them? The answer to this question would soon be revealed. In the shadow of the brilliant temples and marble columns of the south lay a land often neglected or even scorned by the great city-states, Macedon. It was a kingdom of pastoral valleys and industrious farmers, whose manners seemed simple and customs crude. Although the inhabitants of these lands spoke Greek, their dialect grated on the ears of sophisticated Athenians, and many considered them Greeks in name only, barbarians lurking beneath a veneer of civilization. Here, no majestic acropolis rose above a shining capital, nor was there a bustling agora where philosophers contended in rhetoric. Macedon could boast no naval traditions, no dramatic theater, nor extensive colonies. In truth, it was a rugged frontier kingdom, unstable and often forgotten. Yet, from this unassuming land, a new power was destined to emerge. A kingdom fated not only to unite Greece, but to transform the known world. And the rise of this kingdom began not with myth or divine intervention, but with the deeds of one man, Philip II. Macedon had long suffered from internal instability. Succession crises, political assassinations, and constant foreign incursions weakened the kingdom for decades. From the northwest, fierce Illyrians pressed its borders. From the northeast, Thracian tribes. And from the south, rival Greek coalitions exerted pressure. A brief period of prosperity occurred under King Archelaus, who reigned from 413 to 399 BCE. Archelaus strengthened the kingdom's defenses, built roads, and attracted Greek artists and thinkers to his court at Pella. However, even this glimmer of reform ended in tragedy. Archelaus was assassinated, and Macedon plunged back into chaos. The subsequent 40 years were marked by dynastic strife, military defeats, and a near-total collapse of Macedonian sovereignty. It was into this dark era, in 382 BCE, that Philip, the youngest son of King Amyntas III, was born. In his youth, Philip was sent as a hostage to Thebes, where he lived under the protection and observation of Epaminondas, the brilliant Theban general who crushed Spartan dominance at the Battle of Leuctra. For years, Philip directly studied Theban military practice, their tactics, the deep phalanx formation, and the strategic integration of cavalry into traditional infantry warfare. He listened intently, absorbing knowledge. When he returned to Macedon in 359 BCE, the kingdom was once again on the brink of collapse. His brother, King Perdiccas III, had fallen in battle against the Illyrians. The army was shattered, and Macedon was left defenseless against its enemies. With the throne vacant and the legitimate heir too young, Philip assumed the regency and never relinquished it. Whether through cunning or force, he secured the crown for himself, swiftly eliminating rivals and consolidating his power. What followed was one of the most impressive transformations in ancient military history. Philip recognized that Macedon's survival and future depended on creating a new kind of army. The old levies of peasant soldiers were no longer sufficient. He professionalized the army, introducing rigorous year-round training and equipping his soldiers with the most advanced instruments of war. At the heart of this new force was the Macedonian phalanx, armed not with the traditional hoplite's short spear, but with the sarissa, a pike nearly 6 meters long. This extended their strike range, allowing Macedonian infantry to strike before the enemy could close in. Philip arrayed his phalanxes in deeper formations, which gave them both endurance and the power to break enemy lines. But a phalanx alone was not enough. Philip integrated cavalry into the army, especially the elite companion cavalry, to exploit weaknesses and break enemy flanks. Archers and light infantry added maneuverability, while siege engineers created formidable machines capable of breaching the strongest fortifications. This was a true revolution in warfare, and it was only the beginning. Philip's first challenges were not long in coming. The Illyrians, who had terrorized Macedonian borders for years and killed his brother, posed a significant threat. Philip initially negotiated and bided his time, but once his new army was ready, he delivered a crushing blow. The Illyrians were routed, their power broken, and Macedon's western frontier secured. Philip then turned his gaze eastward. He conquered Paeonia, expanding Macedonian territory and gaining access to vital human resources. In 357 BCE, he captured Amphipolis, a city rich in silver mines. This influx of wealth became the financial bedrock for Macedon's further expansion. However, Philip did not rely solely on military force. He was a master of diplomacy, marital alliances, and political manipulation. He skillfully played city-states against each other, exploiting old rivalries and dividing his enemies before conquering them. By the mid-350s BCE, internal Greek conflicts presented Philip with his greatest opportunity. The Third Sacred War erupted from a religious dispute that escalated into a full-scale conflict involving most major Greek powers. The Phocians, accused of sacrilege for cultivating sacred land near Delphi, retaliated by seizing the oracle and plundering its treasures to fund mercenary armies. Thebes and Thessaly allied against them, but the war became a stalemate. Philip entered the conflict as an ally of Thessaly, but with far grander ambitions. In 352 BCE, at the Battle of Crocus Field, he led combined Macedonian-Thessalian forces to a crushing victory. Thousands of Phocians were killed, and those captured were executed as a warning to others. With Phocis subdued and the passes under his control, Philip gained the key to central Greece. And although Athenian intervention blocked his further advance at that moment, it became clear to all Macedon was now a force to be reckoned with. Over the next decade, Philip continued his dual strategy, combining military might with diplomatic skill. By 346 BCE, the war concluded, and Philip gained a seat on the Amphictyonic Council, a religious and cultural body that had once scorned Macedon as uncivilized. Now, the so-called barbarians held a central position in Greek affairs. As Philip's power grew, so did the alarm among the Greek city-states. Athens and Thebes, long-standing enemies, set aside their rivalry to confront the common threat of Macedonian dominance. In 338 BCE, their combined forces met Philip's army at Chaeronea in central Greece. The battle was decisive. Philip's phalanx crashed into the Athenian ranks, while his son, the young Alexander, led the companion cavalry in a daring and devastating charge against the Athenian right flank. The Theban Sacred Band, an elite unit of warriors, fought with unparalleled bravery, but was surrounded and annihilated. By day's end, Greek independence was but a memory. The old world had crumbled. Following this complete victory, Philip convened the League of Corinth in 337 BCE. This federation of Greek states acknowledged Macedonian leadership while retaining only a semblance of autonomy. In reality, all power rested with Philip. He announced his next great design, an invasion of Persia, the long-standing enemy of the Greeks. However, fate intervened. In 336 BCE, on the eve of his expedition, Philip was assassinated at the theater in Aegae, possibly due to personal vengeance, or perhaps as the result of a conspiracy. Nevertheless, his work was done. Macedon was united, Greece subdued, and the foundations for a future empire were laid. Philip's legacy did not end with his death. It was his son, Alexander the Great, who would carry his vision across continents, conquering Persia, reaching India, and transforming the world. But none of this would have been possible without Philip. It was he who transformed a fragile kingdom into the dominant power of the ancient world. He was not merely a king, he was a founder. From obscurity, Macedon rose to the heights of power, and the world was never the same.